All right. We are here at Quake Live TV, teamed up with both Quake Unity and TastySpleen.net. We're just one big happy family here. And we've got a little sit down with the good friend Lord Havok. And if you don't know him for his work in the Quake Engine's Dark Places, and which is the backbone behind Nexuiz now, you should know him by now just because he has done a hell of a lot of work giving us, which has been just released here at QuakeCon 2009, the Mac and Linux ports for Quake Live. So all of you non-Windows users out there, I'm sure you're going to be rejoicing this weekend, and it's all thanks to this guy. So feel free to introduce yourself there.
I'm Lord Havok. Do you want to press a button?
No, just higher up. Close to the mouth.
Yeah. I'm Lord Havok, and I've been doing various open source projects that I enjoy, and ultimately it kind of... Closer?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been doing various open source projects, and I've been enjoying that. And then I was approached by one of the id guys about doing Quake Live work. And I respect the Quake Live project. I was actually in the private betas, and I think it's pretty cool. And then it's gotten a lot better. I mean, early on it was some good fragging, but it's really gotten fine-tuned. But my work on it is the Linux and Mac ports, and that's been a great project because I don't think that these platforms should be left out in the cold. And
into that.
And everyone deserves some good fragging on their favorite platform. And that's pretty much where I'm coming from. And
so what do you think contributed to you getting approached by id Software? Now, keep in mind that you're not an employee of id, you're a contract worker, which is a mighty fine spot to be in. So how did that start?
Well, I was simply approached to do the work, and it sounded like it was kind of overflow, like they didn't really have anyone who could do it in-house. Not lack of talent, more lack of time, and it was really a great deal. I mean, I've been doing independent contract work for a few different clients for some time, and I think it's a good situation to be in, at least as an semi-amateur, semi-professional like myself. I don't really want to go to a desk job.
I don't blame you.
So I like independent contracting, and I also like indie game scene, So I've kind of got a couple connections that kind of draws me toward Quake Live, I guess, because it's from a big studio, but it's kind of indie in style.
Is it? That's a take on it I haven't heard exemplified a whole lot. What kind of contributes to that?
I think that it's a website for one game, and that obviously a game has been promoted before with a website, but it's not really been playable on the website with no gotchas. Just play it. I haven't really seen that done elsewhere. There are usually larger sites. They're not really like, here's just Quake Live. That's all we're doing. Like, we care about Quake Live. Come play it. That's got a little more of an indie vibe to it to me.
Oh, definitely, and just the fact that you mentioned that there's no catch. There's Quake Live, you play Quake Live, and there's no drawback whatsoever. Is that going to contribute to its success in the long run, or where do you see it going?
I see it continuing to blossom. I mean, there are a lot of players, and I can't go into specifics on that, but I know there are a lot of players, and that's kind of a good sign because it's never really been tried before on this scale. Something that is just free, basically. And I don't know where it's going to head from there, but right now it's some good fragging.
Yeah, I think right now one of the big things about Quake Live is due to its experimental nature, I don't even think a lot of the id guys know exactly where they're going to end up a year or two down the road.
No, I don't think there was ever a plan of where to end up.
Just let's see if this works, and we'll do it as it comes up. So that's where all this talk is coming from, just because it could go so many places in so many different ways. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to see that too. But when you finally got your hands on, I was just curious about this. When you finally got your hands on the source code and you opened it up, what were your first impressions?
kind of dangerous territory there.
We can keep it NDA. Just
I can say that some aspects of it had degraded a little bit from Quake 3 and portability, so it made my work a little harder, but I can't go into it very much.
Okay, well, we do know for sure that there have been a lot of people clawing at the door for this for a very long time, and of course, you can't afford to say too much, one way or another, so there's been like this vacuum of information, and then all of a sudden, here it is, released.
More or less released.
Yeah, so...
It's a larger beta.
Okay, more of a beta. Do you expect any hiccups to come along?
Not at this time, but I can't promise no hiccups. There are a few issues we need to resolve before we call it good.
Of course.
But it was good enough for QuakeCon.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll still take a little bit of time before you really start seeing the results of, the different downloads for the Mac and Linux ports. But... it's either a lot of people have been asking for it, or there's a few people who have been very, very vocal about it. And knowing the Linux crowd, it might be the latter.
Well, the Mac crowd's pretty vocal too. The Linux crowd tends to ask for what they want, and the Mac crowd tends to thank you for if they get it. That's a little observation I've made.
Yeah.
Well, theoretically, given a bit of money, you can run Windows on either one, but it's a matter of choice, and that's why we're seeing some, real appreciation for it.
Oh, absolutely. And so it's not that id Software didn't care about these ports. It's just that they literally didn't have someone to do it.
Didn't have the manpower
right.
for it, and I think that's often the situation at companies. It's actually kind of easy to say, as long as it doesn't increase the tech support costs too much, a port is kind of like free money.
Oh, yeah.
Because, if it expands the audience at all, it usually covers the expense, even if you have a contractor, as long as they're not too expensive. So I think ports are a win for a company in general. And obviously, it gets a bit more press attention.
Obviously, yeah.
And that draws in more players even not on these other platforms, so that's kind of nice. I've just been approaching it as, well, this is some nice work to do. Definitely.
No drawbacks.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for everybody.
I've tried to convince a few companies to do ports in the past, and, it usually comes down to either they pretend to not care or they're really just understaffed and they admit it.
Yeah.
Either way, it's usually that they're understaffed for it. It's not really that they don't want to do it in general. It's just like they'll try to say, oh, that platform doesn't matter, when they really mean, we don't have a programmer for that.
Yeah. Well, into the development side of things, did you have any major challenges as far as getting the work done? I know a lot of people have been asking, where is it, and there's always reasons for these things.
A little dangerous territory there, but I can say that the Linux port took a lot less time than the Mac port. The code was just more ready to go. So certain things with Firefox are easier on Linux and Windows than on Mac, and that's just how it is, and we had to work with what we had. That's one of the reasons that we're delaying things a little more. We're still trying to polish up the Mac port, hoping to get a few answers.
I'm sure it'll be a continual process for a while, but now you have an id contract under your belt. Do you foresee future enterprises with them, or what are your plans from this day on?
I definitely hope that there will be future enterprises with them. I can't, predict what will happen. There's nothing predictable in the game industry.
Never is.
But I'm enjoying working on Quake Live, and I don't do it for the fame or anything. I do it because, well, they're paying me, and I think that the project is a good one.
Yeah, those are very good reasons.
I tend not to actually take on a project like porting a game unless I actually care about it somewhat.
And you obviously care about Quake.
Because otherwise the result won't be as polished as it should be.
Yeah.
There's a real care factor. If you don't care, it's going to show. That happens in all of game development. You can tell the games where someone didn't care.
Yeah.